Hello and welcome to the FinTalk Show at ProsAI, where we spotlight entrepreneurs revolutionizing technology services and digital transformation across the global markets. As always, we have another very exciting guest today. For those joining us, we are ProsAI and we specialize in helping fintech and technology businesses scale their revenue or reduce operational costs, particularly in areas of go-to-market strategy and operational efficiency. If you're looking to take your tech business to the next level, stick around. And if you want a free consultation, just drop us the word growth in the DMs and our team will get back to you. Our guest today, I'm very excited to introduce Ayush Trivedi, co-founder and director of Audacix, an award-winning application security and testing automation company that is helping SaaS and cloud software teams ship software with zero known vulnerabilities and zero bugs. They've won prestigious awards for their innovative approach to penetration testing and have helped clients reduce post-release bugs by over 70%. Welcome to the show, Ayush. Those are very impressive statistics.
Thank you, Osman. I thank you for having me. Looking forward to our chat.
Maybe let's start from yourself. Just tell us your story. Tell our audience, who are you and what's your role at your company today?
Sure. So Audacix started, 2018. Actually, probably a couple of years earlier than that. I've lost track of time. And the whole goal was to initially fix software testing for SaaS companies, right? To make it automated, to make it to do it in hours rather than days or even weeks, as some of our customers were experiencing. Along the way, we fell into application security because customers would come to us and said that they would say, can you do pen testing as well? And then our own customers would say, well, what about the pen tests on your software, right? Show us those reports. What this has done is the combination of these two different areas, which are quite closely aligned for most software teams, right? Functional testing and security testing. My management consulting background has gone into building a company that has a dual focus. It aligns from a strategy point of view. It aligns from an operations point of view. I like to think that my past has contributed to it, but it's probably just me trying to retrofit some facts into my life. Who knows?
Well, I was actually going to ask exactly that. So you have a management consulting background from Ernst & Young, I believe.
Yep.
An MBA. You've also been in e-commerce with previous startup. How has this journey been transforming from, management consulting to what you're doing today?
Yeah, sure. The reason I didn't go back to management consulting after my MBA was because I actually wanted to be involved at the coalface, building something that I was proud of, building something that where I was solving real world problems, right?
Right.
Consulting is great, but it's also you're at least one step removed, if not many steps removed from the actual process, right? So I was, for example, here in Australia working with some of the biggest brands, right from food and beverage companies to health insurance, right? Working with one of Australia's biggest health insurers here in Medibank. And what I realized was during my MBA that I was actually sitting at the bottom of a building waiting for my internship interview. It was at a big bank here in Australia, right? My interview was around 5:30. I was waiting in the bottom, seeing everyone leave work around 5 o'clock. And I just looked at their faces. I'm like, man, these guys all look like zombies, right? And we've all been there, right? Consulting is a tough gig. You work long hours. I'm like, do I really want this? Yeah. And I went and did the interview. I got the internship and then I said, thanks, but no thanks, guys. I'm going to do my own thing. And that's when I went into e-commerce because we're talking 2011, 2012. It was still taking off at that stage, e-commerce, right? Particularly in the Asia Pacific region. That is how my entrepreneurship journey started. And in fact, I like to say that some of my biggest decisions have been made while I'm on a plane. So it must be the thin air or something, right? When it crystallized for me that I should do this was, again, I was on a long haul journey. And from
Right.
Australia, if you've ever been to Australia, you'll know that most plane rides are long haul. There are very, very few short haul ones.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of time to think.
Amazing, amazing. I mean, it's fascinating listening to you because I started my career back in PwC, and I went through a sort of similar journey where I was asking myself, what am I really contributing? Am I really contributing? You know, when you really want to make the change in consultancy, you're a bit removed, but when you're doing,
Yes.
like a startup, it's real. You're actually changing real you're solving real life issues, which is amazing. When did
And
you
the
first?
other, sorry, just the other thing about that, right? When you're a consultant, everything is so easy. No, I'm sure you found this too, right? Like if someone has a problem, you give them 10 solutions. You're like, and they're like, no,
Right,
I can't do it. I can't implement it. This don't won't work. That doesn't work. We've tried this. And
right,
you're in your head, you're thinking, no, it's really simple, right? In theory, everything is simple. And then
exactly.
you start your own business and you're like, oh man, this is I kind of see what they're on about before.
Yeah, yeah. It's so I used to say it's so easy on PowerPoint. When you have it on PowerPoint slides, very
100%.
easily done. It's very easy. You just pass it on. Somebody else needs to deal with it. But when you start doing it, it's a completely different ball game. I've been in both sides. I was in consulting. I went into corporate world and worked there a bit, and I could see the clear difference when those slides are handed over to you. It's not as straightforward.
No,
When now, maybe just something more close to what you're doing now. When did you
sure.
first become passionate about application security specifically?
Well, I don't know about passionate, but when I first found out about application security during my e-commerce days, when people we had this Magento web store, right? And for anyone who knows e-commerce, Magento is the old Shopify, right?
Right,
Everyone was on Magento before Shopify came around. Some
right,
people still are. Um, and people, we found that there were a handful of people putting through these fake orders, right? And the only reason we knew they were fake was because there was no payment associated with it. And we're,
right,
we're like, what's going on? Going down the sort of debugging process, the discovery process, we learned about all the sort of security vulnerabilities we had in our store at the time.
right,
And you know, automated testing, DevSecOps, that stuff wasn't around back then, right? That was all new. If you had a
right,
security problem, you got to hire a security engineer or you went to a security consultant and you
right.
tried to solve it that way. And that was my introduction to security. That's actually a thing.
Mhm. Wow. Okay. Okay. That's quite insightful because I didn't even know about this. Like the fake orders that you're saying that you can actually link to the fact that there's no payments coming through,
Yeah,
and therefore these orders are probably not real. Now
yeah.
the application security market is massive. I think it's projected to hit about 45 billion in the next few years. But you chose to focus specifically on your niche, which is frictionless pen testing for SaaS teams. Most companies would just hand a PDF and call it a day. But you went further. You want to help. Yeah. What insight? What insight what insight got you there to the point where you actually want to help these companies not only identify what problems they're having, but also fix them?
Great question. So there were actually two insights. The first one, as I said to you, customers coming to us and saying, can you do pen test and can you give us those PDF pen test
Right,
reports? And we say, yeah, of course we can do it. And then that got me thinking, going, there were actually multiple clients who, in successive 6 monthly reports, they would have the same vulnerabilities. And that got me thinking about whether it was actually uh, we were providing any value, right? Because from my point of view as an entrepreneur, if I'm seeing my team ship the same vulnerabilities every 6 months, then that's
right,
not ROI, right? And then when I noticed that we were having very similar issues, okay, I said, okay, this is probably a process issue. So what's a better process, right? Instead of doing something, once every 6 months and being insecure for the other 5 months of the year, right? Or other 10 months of the year,
Yeah.
let's put in place something more automated, right? Like we were doing with our QSIM test automation tool. I gave my devs some of the, I call them legacy big brand security tools, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh, and I pretty much had a mutiny on my hands because they're like, first of all, I don't know how to use this. Secondly, this produces a lot of false positives. Third,
Right.
like, do you want me to stop development and become a security engineer instead? Right. So these are the sort of questions that we were facing.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and then, the more research we did about this, what we realized was even the tools which were being sold as developer friendly and, built for developers and software teams, they were
Yeah.
basically just rebranded, rebadged versions of the old tools, right? So
Right.
those tools hadn't really catered for modern software development workflows, which have, let's be honest, they've changed a lot even in the last 10, 15 years, you know?
Yeah.
So those were a couple of realizations, and I think there's a third part to this, which was that when people think of, and I'm talking about storied, well experienced
Mhm.
software development managers and CTOs,
Right.
when they think of software security or automated software security, they're thinking of code level stuff.
Right.
Yeah. They're thinking of static analysis. So give a tool access to your code base, and that
Mhm.
will tell you, okay, this package is vulnerable or these 10 lines are vulnerable, right? Or need to be swapped out. And
Right.
there wasn't a lot there wasn't a lot of tooling which was able to look at applications and APIs while they were running and
Right.
tell you what was wrong. Yeah. Now,
Mhm.
to put it into context for you, when you're building a house, right, static analysis or tools that look at your code are like looking at your bricks. The
Right.
bricks am I using, are they broken or are they whole? Right? If they're
Right.
broken, let's swap them out. If they're whole, then they're good. Let's use them. Right? Whereas
Mhm.
what we do with our Cyber Chief tool is look at your application at runtime. So once you've built the house, can the
Right.
doors actually be locked? Right?
Right.
Can someone easily get in when your doors and windows are closed? Right?
Right.
That's a difference, and that was a sort of gap in the market that that we saw. And I think, to be honest with you, most software teams still don't understand this gap right now.
That's interesting. That's interesting. So can you maybe walk our audience through maybe somebody who's running a SaaS company out there listening to this? What when they sign up, how does that end-to-end process work? You have a hybrid approach, I believe, which is, automated plus a manual approach. How does it work on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, sure. Great question. So, I mean, you guys deal with a lot of fintech companies, right? Particularly in Europe. Now, Europe is gone, or the European Union, in terms of the legislation, has gone really gung ho on this, where they've got this
Mhm.
new legislation called DORA, right? Um, and
Yes.
DORA invokes a lot of uh, fear and anger in people. So I won't expand on DORA, but essentially, if you take DORA as an example,
Right.
our process helps a fintech company completely satisfy their obligations to DORA. Now, what does that look like? So we actually have a five-step process for this. We call it the modern AppSec paradigm map, right?
Right.
And the first two steps are for your security testing to be integrated and autonomous. Okay,
Right.
what that means is that integrated is you're working within your current software development workflows, the tools that you're currently using, right? So your CI/CD pipelines, all the other DevOps tools, right? Whatever security needs to happen within those as part of that setup.
Right.
Autonomous is really simple. We're all humans. When we're under
Yeah.
time pressure, we take shortcuts, right? So at the end of a 2 week sprint, you're pushed to release a new feature.
Yeah.
And if you're running short of time, what's the first thing that's going to go? Oh, let's not do security this sprint. We'll do it next sprint, right? But we just
Right.
just not just not enough time right now. Well, we're
Right.
barely fixed these other bugs, right? So that's why the autonomous part is important. The third part is around support. So you know, most developers don't understand security. You can go through an entire software engineering degree at the best universities in the world and not
Right.
run or not go through a single software security course.
Wow.
Wild, right? That's wild.
That's staggering. That's staggering.
And um, so giving your developers access to not only AI tools, so we have our own AI models which help with answering questions about the right fixes and the right types of fixes, but actual
Right.
human AppSec experts, right,
Hmm.
which are made available to our customers' teams, right?
Right.
These guys know security and they also know development, right? So that's a support part. The fourth part is around depth. And depth is what I can most closely align it to is your normal pen testing, manual pen testing that happens once a year or twice a year or once a quarter.
Right.
When it comes to fintechs in particular, um, a word for your customer, for your listeners. If your pen testing vendor says, yeah, we're doing an OWASP top 10 report for you,
Right.
alarm bell should be going off in your head. That's not the right depth that you need, right? So there are different frameworks that can be used. But the depth basically means whatever cannot be covered through automation, secure automation, you're getting human experts to do a deep dive into your software and your APIs and your cloud infrastructure to make sure it's
Right.
secure, right? The final step is around champions because as we both know from our consulting days, um, in order to build culture, you need people to propagate that culture, right? Both
Absolutely.
bottom down and top up.
Yeah.
So top down and bottom up. We have we encourage our clients to build security champions, and we help them build security champions within their dev team
Yeah.
to propagate that culture. Now, in terms of ROI, there's a bunch of ways to measure this, right? Are you producing less vulnerabilities? Are you fixing them faster?
Right.
Most, I think the most important ROI here for the SaaS companies that we work with, and we predominantly work with SaaS companies, right?
Right.
The most important ROI is that most of them, even though they are, doing multi-millions in revenue, have 200, 300 or more people, most of them can get by without having in-house security teams.
Right.
Right? Now, if you think about the fact that a security engineer in the Western world costs anywhere from 150 to $250,000 a
Yeah.
year,
Hmm.
right? And you typically need two or three of them to make any dent in your AppSec structure.
Yeah.
That's a truckload of savings that you can put towards growth or building new features, whatever it might be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is why really, these SaaS companies come to you. Do you have any specific success stories, people who've come to you maybe frustrated with the experience they've had with traditional pen testing and how you've changed that approach for them?
Yeah, 100%. We work with a fintech company called Whitehead.
Mm.
They are a fast-growing company focused on a number of markets around the world. And
Right.
they came to us because they didn't think they were getting enough support from their existing pen test vendors. And then we were like, oh, by the way, that's great. We can help you with that. But there's also this other, automation side of things which you should look at. And that was really appealing to them.
Right.
What that's meant is they are now able to satisfy regulatory compliance requirements across jurisdictions, across countries,
Right.
without having to hire, teams of security experts. Right?
Right.
We had a customer recently in e-commerce. They were going to be kicked off their main platform, right? Because the platform found vulnerabilities in their application, and platform gave them 30 days to fix things. Otherwise, that was almost 70% of the business gone, right?
Right. Right.
So we see these stories pretty much on a weekly basis. There's we support teams like CleverTap, for example. Now, if you've ever done online shopping and you've ever been recommended a product, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
probably CleverTap's AI engine in the background recommending that product to you, right? And we help them secure that, everything from their application to their APIs to their SDKs, right? So we work with a lot of innovative teams around the world, and we like to think that we're bringing a lot of innovation to their security structure as well.
Amazing, amazing. And just because you mentioned you work with different teams across different jurisdictions, do you see the security risk being different in different jurisdictions?
Not so much from a sort of country by country level, but definitely, right? If you've got a fintech application where you are collecting people's money and helping them invest money, you're going to be
Right.
a honeypot more so than uh, an e-commerce company that works with brides and grooms to plan their wedding, right?
Right.
So yes, I think it's more than jurisdictions. It's more sort of business dependent
Right.
and context dependent in terms of what you're actually providing to your customers.
And how does regulatory compliance requirements change the landscape? Because I know you mentioned DORA, but do you see this also as a challenge when you try to navigate the different locations?
Not so much, not so much. Not for us anyway. It's a challenge for our customers, right? Because um, increasingly we're seeing that it's not good enough just to have a SOC 2 or an ISO 27001 compliance certificate. You need to satisfy uh, more stringent compliance requirements, right?
Right.
Most of the time, what we're seeing is people come for a pen test report and
Right.
they stay because they're like, oh, okay, so I can actually cover these other aspects of my application security and cloud security requirements
Yeah.
without necessarily having to onboard 5 different vendors for it and integrate 5 different tools, right? Or 5 different solutions.
Right.
You might have heard in cybersecurity, well, actually, let me take a step back. Cyber is a bit like medicine in the sense that we're not saving lives, but
Right.
in medicine you have different specialties, right? So you go to a GP and they might send you to a lung specialist or a heart specialist or a cancer specialist, right?
Right.
Cyber is similar in terms of there's application security, endpoint security, there's APIs, all sorts of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Um, and often people don't realize that there are solutions available which can help them fix the different parts of their applications ecosystem,
Right.
right? And once we explain this to them during discovery calls, it's literally a mind-blowing moment for a lot of people going, okay, I didn't know this existed. This can
Yeah.
solve a lot of problems for me.
And just looking at the overall landscape, I mean, application security is fairly crowded space, I would say, but you're
Yeah,
competing with, really well established names. For SaaS companies that never done penetration testing before, or they've been, banned with bad experiences, how do you typically acquire those customers? What's your go-to-market strategy to actually get them on board, change that experience, and make them believe that you're offering a service that they need?
sure. So we have 3 primary channels. Well, 2 primary channels really, and a few sort of sub channels within them. So we have an outbound team, which reaches out to what we think is our ICP, which is predominantly SaaS companies of a certain size and scope in B2B SaaS, more importantly, not so much B2C SaaS, right?
Right.
So that's one channel. The other one is we have actually a free tool. If you go to scan.cyberchief.ai, it's a free tool which gives you a very quick snapshot of your most fundamental or basic security controls that your application should have. Yeah.
Right. Right.
That is an amazing source of leads for us because people see that, see their current security posture, and then they're like, oh, okay, there's other tool that I can use or other solution that I can use to fix this, right? Even if I don't want a pen test right now, maybe I can
Right.
do something from an automation perspective. Allied to that is our Cyber Chief Startup Program, where if you are a seed funded or Series A funded startup, you can get a very impressive, I think it's a 75% discount on Cyber Chief subscription costs to get you started. Even if you don't think you're ready for a pen test, you can still put in place those building blocks of security before, so that you can start selling to bigger and bigger customers.
Fantastic. And I see you also have a partnership model. You've recently partnered with the Metonic of India. How do partnerships play a role in your growth strategy overall?
It's something we're exploring more and more because we're not a funded startup. We're a bootstrap or profit driven company. Never taken on funding. We were profitable from within the first year, and using that to fuel our growth. So increasingly, we are finding partners who think like us, who agree with our view of the world, and who are helping customers solve the sort of problems that we're helping solve, right? So Meteonic is one example. There are a bunch of others spread across the world. I'm going to be in Singapore next week for Singapore Tech Week, meeting some of our partners there. And for us, more than the actual business, it's initially about working out whether our values and our view of the world align, right? Because in security, you'll find a lot of security people that still are stuck on endpoint security and making sure your devices and laptops are safe. And absolutely, that's fine. We'll do a pen test for application security, and that's fine, right? So that is still, I find, a prevailing view in the cybersecurity world. So we're very conscious about which partners we work with to make sure they're also solving what we call real world problems for their customers.
That's amazing. And I see, I mean, you've obviously built it's amazing what you mentioned there. You were profitable from almost the onset, not funded. You've built an award-winning company, great customer reviews as well. If you wanted to get to where you want to become, say, like 3 to 5 years, what does that look like? What's the vision?
The vision is that we want to eventually replace manual pen testing, right? So that is from a tooling or a technology point of view, that's what we're trying to do. And to do that, we've been using our own AI models for many, many years before AI became a thing, before Gen AI became a thing. Now, obviously, before I was speaking to you, I was literally on VS Code playing with some new models that we're building right now. So that's our big overarching goal to make sure that people or companies in the future don't have to rely on manual pen tests. But more importantly, I think being able to become the go-to company for growing SaaS companies, to reach a go-to security company for growing SaaS companies, right? To say, okay, talk to Audacix because they know how to do it. They're doing it themselves. They're at the coalface, and they've helped other companies in our industry solve these problems. And they're a better fit for us than your average pen test consultancy. They're a better fit for us than your typical legacy big brand cybersecurity vendor. And these guys are actually good to work with as well. So that's also important for us.
Okay. I mean, talking about AI, and it's good the way you put it. You are using AI before AI became a thing, because now everyone is running around talking about AI. But it is a trend. It is a trend. We are seeing fascinating trends. AI security tools emerging. There's a lot of consolidation also in this space. How are these trends reshaping the application security landscape? And in particular, how is that affecting your business?
It's affecting it in a couple of ways. I'm part of a number of Slack channels where people are increasingly adopting AI to improve the rate at which they deliver new features, right? And at the rate at which or the responsiveness to customer requests, for example. Now, what that does is if you're writing more code, building new features, your testing burden is only growing, right? So both from a functional testing point of view, but also from a security testing point of view. Yeah.
Right.
So we're seeing this is something we're experiencing ourselves, right? So what I say to people, Osman, is anything that I'm asking you to do, I'm talking about our clients here, anything that I'm asking you to do, I have literally tried myself, right? And I have failed with a number of strategies, and I'm telling you the stuff that I know to work. Yeah?
Right.
So that is a point of differentiation for us, where we're not just talking about textbook academic theories, right? This is lived experience, which I know will help you. But the other aspect of AI is, uh, we're still not at a stage where people fully understand how to maximize its benefit and its potential, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And I'll give you an example. The way that people think about AI here in Australia is very different to how people are thinking about it in America, for example. So, I went to a conference in Australia, AI conference in Australia about 6 weeks ago, and
Right.
big companies, heads of big companies were talking about the ethics of AI and are we using it properly and appropriately, right?
Yeah.
Fine conversations to have.
Yeah.
Then literally the following week, I get to America and people are
Uh-huh.
going, "Are we using this the right way? How are your other clients using it? How can we be 2xing, 3xing, 10xing our productivity, right?
Yeah.
Completely
Yeah.
different conversations. So I think
Yeah.
once as a global cohort we find some sort of equilibrium, right?
Yeah.
It's going to take some time to get there, but from an application security point of view, your application security needs and requirements are not going to go down. They're only going to go up because of AI, and that's a happy place to be for us.
Right. So would you say AI is a threat to manual penetrating, or is it pen testing, or is it complementing it?
It's a tough one. We're on a path where it has a great potential to replace manual pen testers. Okay.
Okay.
Now I say this because I think most manual pen testers aren't worth the money you pay them, right? And I
Right.
know that's going to be controversial coming from someone in my industry, but the problem with a lot of manual pen testers is that they're not software people, right? They've never written code in their life. They've never
Yeah.
built a piece of software in their life, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
We find we get told often that one of the problems people have with pen testers is that if Osman's building an app, he has to sit with the pen tester and explain to him how the app works, and then the pen
Right.
tester will go and test his app for him, right?
Right.
Now,
Right.
from Apple, we've never done that. We didn't know this was a thing when we started pen testing. We
Hmm.
got the app from our customers, gave it to our pen testers, and said, "Go on,
Yeah.
rip it up, right? Show us what you got."
Right.
And just this whole ability to understand and reason and use logic to find your way around a maze, AI is
Hmm.
very good at doing that.
Right.
All the
Yeah.
rest of it, payload injection, all that sort of stuff is technical
Yeah.
stuff which AI knows already how to do and can do pretty comfortably. Now
Right.
it's about putting it together as a package, and most importantly, getting customers, and CTOs and CEOs of the world to trust that the AI can do it as well as a human can. We're
Right.
not there yet. Will we get there? Hopefully, as well. That's one of the challenges that we're working on.
Right. Yeah, it's all about the trust. People believing that actually AI can do or even do it better and quicker, but they might still want that human element. Um, s- Over 70% of enterprises report the so-called shift left fatigue. They're overwhelmed with security alerts from all different sorts of tools. At the same time, everyone is actually trying to integrate security into their CI/CD pipelines, as you mentioned. How how do you see the tension resolving itself? Or
I
what
don't
does
think it.
mature
I don't.
DevOps look like? In what does it look like?
Yeah, I don't see this tension resolving itself in the next 10 years, Osmond. All right. And the
Right.
reason I say this is because if you go to an IT conference now in
Right.
2025, you'll still hear about digital transformation. Mate, we've been digitally transforming for 25 years,
Right.
right?
Right.
Why is digital transformation still a thing? And there will always be, the way I look at it is that there will always be a cohort of people who say, this is always how we've done it, and this is
Mhm.
how we're going to continue doing it. There will be a
Yeah.
cohort of people
Yeah.
who slowly adopt modern technologies and ways of thinking, and you'll have
Right.
your early adopters after that,
Right.
right?
Right.
I think my sense is that with AI now picking up pace, and with AI agents actually becoming usable from a coding perspective, where a developer is not only coding herself, but also maybe potentially managing a few AI agents alongside her daily work. You will see people realize that doing things the old way in a manual fashion
Yeah.
is not going to work.
Right.
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 It's a bit like buying a Ferrari and putting, $50 tires on it.
Yeah.
You know, why
Yeah.
why would you undermine a great piece of
Yeah.
machinery like that? Why would you undermine your bread and butter, the software, the technology that you put your life's work into
Right.
by not actually doing the security processes to secure it? Right.
Right.
So my hope is that, and the sense is that people will start realizing this more and more.
Yeah.
Whether they will or not, time will tell.
Time will tell. Time will tell indeed. I know you touched briefly on the regulatory pressure. This is intensifying with DORA, requiring 4-hour breach notifications for financial services as of, the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
GDPR enforcement is also getting stricter. How does this actually affect your strategy as a business?
It's at the very core of our business, right? People come to us because they need to, or a large chunk of people come to us because they need to comply with these regulations. And what we're going to see, I think, is GDPR. If you look at GDPR, that is driven a wave of privacy regulation around the world, right?
Yeah.
When GDPR came out, it was thought to be really over prescriptive and really overbearing by the rest
Yeah.
of the world. And then then governments are like, well, actually, if the Europeans can do this, we can do this too, right?
Right.
So Australia has recently revamped our privacy principles, which is a GDPR equivalent. Yeah,
Right.
India's got something that's coming on board soon.
Mhm.
California's got something that the rest of the US might not adopt it, but we'll see. The jury is out on that one. So the point is that this legislation drives a lot of compliance requirements and activity around the world, right? Because I'm sorry to say this, but most software companies are still driven by compliance requirements rather than any need or any sense of doing the right thing. What
Right.
I mean by this is
Mhm.
that most CTOs don't look at security until someone says to them, a customer comes and says to them, or a regulator says to them, show me a pen test report.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
most CTOs.
Most
So
city. Mhm.
these regulations are going to drive the right behaviors
Mhm.
and improve or expand the percentage of people exhibiting these right behaviors.
That's quite something to really think about for the CTOs and indeed key decision makers. I know you've presented in various forums, on API security strategy with the shift to API fast architecture and cloud native applications. What security challenges are most companies not paying enough attention to?
A couple of things. So, uh, you're absolutely right. APIs drive the world, right? We used to say software drives the world. Now it's definitely APIs that drive the world.
Yes.
Um, and these supply chain attacks that we're seeing increasingly, SolarWinds was a big one. Um, just recently, we've had a couple of NPM breaches, right? So NPM packages are used, hundreds, if not thousands of NPM packages are used in the most simple softwares around the world. And what people I think are cottoning on to is the fact that it's not enough to to have a point in time look at your software. You need something more regular and most importantly, you need to know whether you're affected or not, right? We've
Right.
had customers who call up, we've had customers who call them and say, I've heard about this breach. Are we affected, right? Or are you affected?
Right.
And how do you tell that, right? If you've got 50
Right.
containers,
Yeah.
a microservices-based architecture, you've got
Mhm.
thousands of packages, tens of thousands, 100,000 lines of code. How do you tell that, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
answering those questions requires you to have the right tooling in place. And the second part of this is one thing I hear often is that, we don't really need to worry about API security because all our APIs are internal, right?
Right.
And that's one of the big myths that I like to dispel because, you know, think of it this way. Well, we used to I went to Durban, right, South Africa for the 2010 World Cup with some friends. And we went to a few friends' houses. What we saw was the front of the house, the bedrooms were cordoned off from the front of the house with steel bars, right?
Right.
Because of the security situation. So if anyone got into your house, right, while
Right.
you were sleeping, mate,
Right.
you steal my TV, you steal my DVD player, whatever else it is, right? Take my cars, don't harm
Right.
me,
Yeah.
right? And my
Yes.
family.
Hmm.
And that's the sort of approach we need to take with security because
Right.
everyone will be breached, right?
Right.
It's
Hmm.
definitely a case of when and not if.
Yeah.
So the idea with API security is that protect what's publicly exposed, and
Right.
also protect what's internal because it's very easy for one of your admins or your developers to lose their admin credentials or have their
Right.
admin credentials exposed or stolen for someone to get inside your application. And that's why you need to make sure the appropriate controls are in place. So API security is a big growth area for us. And we're
Right.
seeing a lot of traction and people understanding that API security is just as important as any sort of static code level security that they might already have in place.
That's quite a good way to put it. I mean, when you're talking about the breaches, it's when and not if. Everyone is going to be breached at some point. It's how do you protect yourself and make sure that the impact is not as we've seen it. We've seen it a lot recently, actually, a lot of breaches. Your goal is to help software teams ship with zero known vulnerabilities and zero bugs. That's
Yeah.
ambitious. That's
Yeah.
ambitious. Paint the picture. What does the world look when you achieve that goal? What changes for software teams, the end users, and the industry at large?
Yeah. Good question. So, um, in reality, it's not zero known vulnerabilities. It's zero known critical and high risk vulnerabilities, right?
Right, right,
That is the compromise that we come to with most of our clients, and
mhm,
that's fine. I completely understand that, right? Security exists to uh, uh, to serve the software rather than the software company existing to serve its security people or
right,
security processes. So in reality, what that looks like is that you have appropriate tooling in place, which helps your team do more things, your development team do more things by themselves. You
right,
have the right conversations in your daily meetings, whether it be stand-ups or whatever else you call them, right?
right,
You have security champions within your teams asking very simple questions, right? So, for
right,
example, and I hope people steal this, but we have a very simple question that we have a very simple strategy where every new feature that we release, right,
right,
even the smallest PR must
right,
be accompanied by a security fix.
right,
Yeah. So
right,
the idea is that you're consistently doing small security activities along the way, and that's
right,
helping to build up your baseline security level. Yeah.
right,
And
yeah,
and that's why I say to people, right, even if you didn't have a cyber chief solution or a proprietary, commercial cybersecurity solution, if you
right,
just implemented these very small uh, tips and tactics along the way, you would immediately
right,
start leveling up your security posture, right? So
right,
uh, the having said that, getting teams to change behaviors we know is hard. Getting humans to change behaviors is hard, right?
yeah,
And often it takes a lot of tries and a lot of different types of messaging to make sure that things can happen the right way, right?
right,
So a lot of what I do when I go around meeting customers is having really heart-to-heart conversations about like, hey, where is your team at?
yeah,
Where do you want to improve, right? And then helping them understand understand some of those learnings from other industries, other customers, which may have helped them or which may give them a different perspective on how to fix their problems, right?
right,
So it's a combination. We say it all the time. It's people, product, and processes, right? You need all three to work together, and
right.
that's what we're really helping our customers do.
Wow, that's been quite insightful. Thank you so much for sharing those insights. Just to recap, I think we've really it was packed with a lot of nuggets, and I think with all the headlines we are seeing now, a lot of people will be listening. But you are helping SaaS companies reduce their bugs by a big margin, reducing their testing cycles by from weeks to hours, and a lot of other good stuff that you're doing. It's clear that you're building, security, not just a security testing company, but fundamentally changing how development teams integrate security into their workflow. I think that's the main offering that you're giving. Is there anything else that you'd like our audience to take away from today?
Start small. Don't aim for. Don't take the biggest steps you can. Start really small. Help your team adapt to the new normal. Right. If you've never done security before, if you think you haven't done enough security before, start by asking the right questions. Start by setting manageable goals and targets. If you need to know what questions to ask, follow me on LinkedIn. I post about this all the time. You can, once you're ready, then go for a solution which will help you solve some very specific problems. Right?
Amazing. And I know you've mentioned it. I was actually going to say, where can our audience actually connect with you and get to learn more about your company and about what you're doing, so they can follow you on LinkedIn? Anywhere else they can learn about your company?
LinkedIn is probably our focus and my focus at the moment. I'm on Twitter and I'm on most channels, but LinkedIn is probably the best place to jump on and have a chat.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thanks all for tuning in. If you found this episode as insightful as we did, please hit subscribe, share with someone in the tech or SaaS community. You can also find more episodes and resources on our website, your YouTube channel, Spotify, and LinkedIn. Ayush, thank you very much for sharing these insights into the future of application security and how you are helping software teams build trust with their customers through better security. That's quite useful. And to those all tuning in, we'll be back again next week with another entrepreneur reshaping the technology landscape. Until then, stay tuned. Thanks, Ayush, again for joining us.
Thank you, Osman.